My entitled mother is gaslighting me into giving her hundreds of dollars every month just so she can further feed her addiction. And I'm honestly so sick of the lies and I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Let me first start off by saying that my mom is an alcoholic and she has been one for many years. Her alcoholism was so bad that my grandmother had to take me in at the age of 9 because my mom was unfit and putting me in danger. She continued to make bad choices due to her alcoholism and had been in jail multiple times while she lived in the US. When I was 18 years old back in 2010, she was deported back to our home country of El Salvador. From the moment she was sent away, I was told by my grandmother that we needed to help her monetarily to help her adjust to her new life. Mind you, this is a very common ideology in Latino communities, that you must help your parents. I was 18 and only working minimum wage jobs, but I never failed to fulfill my duty and send money to her every 2 weeks. Back in those days, I was pretty manipulated and was sending at least $500 every month. When she got deported, she relapsed into alcohol again and would lie about money or would always complain that she didn't have enough to pay a certain bill. This atrocious cycle continued for years. Fast forward to about the age of 25, when I moved out on my own. I started to realize that this continuous cycle of sending money while being harassed that the money wasn't enough, all while my mom never took accountability for being an alcoholic who neglected me as a child and technically wasn't the parent figure I had in my life, was enough for me to say that I wanted to do something about it. My fiance advised me that the money I was sending, about $300 a month at this point, was simply way too much, especially since she hadn't had a good track record with money before. So he suggested to lower it to about $200 a month, which is what she currently receives. And of course, she never fails to remind me the sacrifices she's made to have some kind of life on those means. She continues to ask me for more, and she even reaches out to other family members as well, and manages to manipulate them into giving her money as well. She will continuously mention how she is short for her bills, how her physical health has declined, and that she needs money for medical expenses right now. And it's always something to try and squeeze more money out of me. But I have stayed firm for about a year and have only given her $200 a month. Now I'm at a point where I don't want to keep hearing about how the money is not enough or that she doesn't have enough money to pay for her bills. Today, as a solution, I offered her to pay those bills directly instead of wiring it to her. I even offered to restore her cable since she always complained about never having enough to even have the cable on in the first place. But when I offered to do it this way, she completely flipped out on me and now thinks that I'm the worst daughter she's ever had for doing these things. She's claiming that I'm being stingy or controlling and even tried to project her alcoholism onto me and say that I drink too much, stating that I'm trying to spend my money on alcohol, which is completely false and not even close to the truth. I want to be able to just cut her off completely, but I think the only reason I don't is because I love my grandmother so much that I don't want to hurt her through her daughter. But I think I'm in a totally unfair situation right now, and I really don't know what to do. I think your way of doing this, of saying, hey, I'll pay for your bills directly, is honestly your best bet to prevent further feeding this addiction that she has. She clearly has a problem, and she's using everybody around her to try and get money so that she can have just one more drink. The reason she's freaking out is because you will very quickly find out that her bills do not equate probably even close to $200, and that she's most likely pocketing most of that money just so she can get her fix. And that is not fair for you. This level of abuse and manipulation and gaslighting is not fair for you because you're the one that's working hard for that money and sending it her way no matter what. And that's just not fair. There are so many red flags when it comes to your mom. So if I was in your shoes, I would stick to my morals and say, you know what? If you want money from me, you need to provide me an itemized bill with a list of everything that you're owed for that month. And only then will you cough up the money that you've earned to take care of her. The other obvious choice is to say, you know what? I'm not paying another cent towards your addiction, because that's exactly what that money's going towards. She's feeding her alcohol addiction and she's trying to manipulate you into giving her more money. So maybe it's time to cut the cycle and remove yourself from this situation completely, because it honestly does not sound like this is going to get better anytime soon. I feel like my girlfriend wants to be with someone else, and I'm kind of at a loss and I don't know what to do. I have been dating my girlfriend for a long time, and everything has been great up until the last couple of months. We recently moved into our own place pretty far away from home, and we are living together and it's going really well. Unfortunately, my dad passed away in this time frame, which really affected my mental health. Obviously, this was pretty hard on me, and I know I wasn't my normal happy self lately. Flash forward to just about a month ago, I noticed my girlfriend, who has always been absolutely awesome and trustworthy, untrustworthy, starting to act very strange. I work from home and she works a lot, so when she would come home from work, it would always be a big deal to see her, and I would give her hugs and kisses and all the other things you would expect from a boyfriend. Suddenly, out of nowhere, she stopped seeming that into it, and now whenever I give her a hug and a kiss when she comes back from work, it feels like it's just kind of half-hearted. And really, I'm not controlling or anything like that, but I did notice that she started following this guy from work on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, which is totally fine. I think it's okay to have friends that are guys or girls, but this was kind of weird for her to do, since she normally doesn't do that. She makes TikToks for her company's work sometimes too, and this same guy was one she popped in with, which again is completely fine, but after everything that had been happening, you start to have your mind racing a bit. She also started coming home from work much later, and it got to one point last week where she wasn't home until 9:30 at night, which was really out of character for her. She mentioned she was staying after work to work on a Halloween project with one of her friends, and this was all connected with work. My girlfriend also mentioned that she had to go stop and get groceries after work as well, but when she texted me when she was leaving the store, it was nearly 9 o'clock at night, and she never ever goes anywhere to a store like Walmart by herself at that time. I was trying not to overthink it, but it just wasn't adding up, and after I brought this up to her, she just kept stating that she was there at night and didn't do anything else. I have always trusted her, but she eventually broke and told me that she was giving the same guy from earlier a ride home and kept lying to me about what she was actually doing that night. She kept assuring me it was just a friend, but it's really odd for her to hang out with someone so much older than her. And if it's just a friend, why lie about what you're doing if there's nothing to hide? And it turns out they had been talking for a while and have even hugged before at work. She also mentioned that she may have developed feelings for this person and that she heard he likes her too. I'm not one to snoop either, and I have never gone through her phone, but I've glanced over before, and apparently they have each other's number and they text often. I saw some good mornings and good night text messages just today, even after all this. She even muted and hid the notifications so I wouldn't see that they were texting each other. Again, if it's just a friend, I'm not sure why it needs to be so secretive. Keep in mind, I would not be that upset about this if we were still acting normal in our relationship, but we haven't at all, and we used to spend time together all the time. She even told me that she had been distancing herself from me because she thought I was going to leave her, which has never crossed my mind, and it hurts to think she thought I'd do that. Recently, we even went on a trip and to some events, and she is always someone who wants to take pictures and post them online, but she didn't do any of that this last time and hasn't for several weeks now. Even our dates, it feels like she's trying to hide the fact that she is with me. I just don't know what to do right now. I even flipped the script and I asked her what she would think if I was doing this to her, and she said she probably would have left me, but for some reason I still want to be with her. She's been my best friend forever, and I really do love her. We grew up together and have had absolutely zero issues until recently. It's all just so confusing, and I even emailed a therapist to try and get some help in the situation because every day has been a struggle with this on top of losing my dad. There are just so many emotions all at once, and I'm feeling alone all day because I really don't have any other friends. What should I do? I think it's safe to say that there's something going on, but I think you need a lot more information as well as evidence that she's even cheating before you try and say, hey, I think you're cheating on me. Like, this is just a suspicion. She could very easily just be super stressed from work and she just feels down from all the workload that she has to deal with. There could also be issues in her family that she just doesn't want to talk about. But I do agree with this original poster to some degree. Some of her actions are really suspicious. I think if anything, maybe asking to look at those text messages between her and this male coworker would probably put some of your fears aside. If there's nothing to hide, then she really should be okay with him looking at it. I don't think that's totally unreasonable here, because if anything, and if she really does care, she would probably be willing to show this to him just so he can absolve his fears that she's trying to cheat on him or something. Even though, to be honest, from the outside looking in, it definitely looks really sketchy. So hopefully this conversation goes well and some of your fears get absolved, because like you said, you guys grew up together, and up until very recently, you had a really good relationship, and it would be a shame for something like this to tear it apart. My boyfriend and his family are hotheads who get into massive arguments all the time, and I'm not sure what to do. My boyfriend can be very argumentative. We've had several arguments over what I see as nothing, and I've also witnessed him have several arguments with friends and family. Last night, he and his mom had a huge argument, which lasted over an hour, with me in the corner wishing I was anywhere else in the world. This was one of the worst arguments I've ever seen in person. They were screaming into each other's faces, literally the entire time. His mom mom pushed him several times, and I'm just grateful he didn't push back, obviously because he's much stronger than her. It started off as something small, but as they both tried to hurt each other, it got personal and twisted. Both of them said some extremely hurtful things to each other, and I heard long-kept family secrets that I was definitely not meant to hear this early in a relationship. One or two things even came up that I would have never heard even under happier circumstances. They were equally matched, and they both gave as good as they got, so I feel bad for my boyfriend a little bit more, but he was no saint in this situation. Overall, I think he was more in the wrong, but he brought up some deeply unsettling trauma from his past, so I cannot have him thinking that I'm not in his corner. I wanted to stay out of it, as it's a new relationship, and we have only been dating for about 5 months, but I also wanted this argument to end so badly. Eventually, we ended up leaving, and per my decision, we stayed at my place. My family is way more placid. We are probably the polar opposite to my boyfriend's family. We tend to have quick fights and get over it very quickly, but the fight last night really scared me, and I'm not sure how to move on or what to do in the future. I wanted to scream at them both to shut up, and in hindsight, I don't know why I didn't. I think I just didn't want to get caught up in family drama, even though they are likely to be my family in the future. My relationship with my boyfriend and his family is amazing. If I intervened, he would expect me to take his corner, but I couldn't do that, especially when I know that he is in the wrong on some of the things that he said. I'm so fearful he has permanently damaged his relationship with his mom, as well as with his wider family, once they hear some of the things that were brought up. What on earth am I supposed to do in a situation like this? I wanted to help heal the argument, but I feel like it's not my place. I also want to talk to my boyfriend about him being a hothead, but I am already afraid of both hurting him by saying that, as well as the argument that this conversation will eventually lead to. What should I do? The fact that your boyfriend is screaming at the top of his lungs in his mom's face, and she's reciprocating that type of energy, does not spell a good future for this relationship, in my opinion. That way of communicating is not healthy, and it can hardly even be called communication. It's extremely aggressive, and in the end, all that really happens is that people get red in the face, stop listening to each other, and try to drown each other out. It is legitimately no good way to solve any problem. And sure, it's okay to be upset and worried that this is going to damage him and his family's relationships or stuff along those lines, but to be completely honest, this is a massive red flag. You've only been together for 5 months, and you've already had several fights. And these aren't just disagreements on some subject matters. These are full-blown fights where everybody's getting angry at the other person. This is super early for someone to be acting like this, and it's really just not fair for you. And in my opinion, this is a good sign that this might not be a good relationship to be a part of. His way of resolving conflict is not healthy, and I can guarantee you that this will probably be the dynamic that you're going to be stuck in for the entirety of any kind of future relationship you have with this guy. So I definitely think it's time to have this conversation with your boyfriend if you ever have hope of this relationship working out. My girlfriend is thinking of inviting her ex-boyfriend over to her house with her relatives to celebrate the upcoming Christmas vacation, and I honestly don't know what to do. I have been with my girlfriend since the start of this year. She has a friendship with her ex-boyfriend, who she split with about 2 years ago, even though they were merely friends the last part of their multi-year relationship, and the attraction is apparently dead still. My girlfriend went through some rough stuff mentally, and her ex was very supportive of her during these times, which continued after they split up and moved apart. They have remained friends up until now, and I've been dealing with it, but also remained uncertain about the future of this dynamic. Recently, it's been getting a lot worse, since her ex-boyfriend has mentioned that he feels lonely, and my girlfriend feels bad about him being lonely since he's been so supportive of her until now. For me, I'd grown used to us having this dynamic, where we were all friends, but with him eventually being able to find someone new or make new friends, thus becoming less dependent on my girlfriend for his social needs. The issue for me came back in full force when I mentioned Christmas, asking how any of that would work. My girlfriend didn't have an answer, since she hadn't really thought about it until now, since she would spend Christmas with her relatives and with her ex up until now. She hadn't really thought about how it would work either, but since her ex-boyfriend has mentioned being lonely, it honestly feels like it's going to be hard to reach a situation where her ex has to be by himself during Christmas without my girlfriend feeling guilty about it. I have never celebrated Christmas with a significant other before, so I had been looking forward to this being a holiday for us as a couple. I have expressed this and she does understand my point of view, and I honestly don't think I could ever feel relaxed or happy during Christmas if her ex-boyfriend is around, since I feel that they would inevitably and accidentally bring up some of their history or fond memories that they've shared during precious Christmas holidays. I feel like it's either going to end up with her ex-boyfriend boyfriend hanging around and my girlfriend feeling less guilty about him feeling lonely, but with me instead feeling left out of my own relationship, even though they are just friends. If her ex-boyfriend doesn't join us, I have a feeling that my girlfriend will feel guilty about him being lonely. I gave the option that I celebrate Christmas on my own with my relatives, but she says she wants to spend Christmas with me. I can't really find any situation where neither of us will feel guilty, so I don't know what to really do. I don't have the capacity to feel like I need to think about her ex all the time and about whether he feels included or not. If their friendship is to continue, I need to have some boundaries of what I consider to be private affectionate time with my girlfriend. I get the feeling like it's going to end up as a three-way relationship if he can't find peace on his own after their breakup. This is all becoming so messy, and I honestly don't know what to do. I think the original poster has it right. I think some serious boundaries need to be drawn between who is and is not allowed into your relationship with your girlfriend. Obviously, her ex-boyfriend played a big role in her life previously, and she clearly has some kind of affection towards him. But I think that affection, even if it's just friendly and wanting him to have a good Christmas vacation or whatever, is really misplaced. And I think she's missing the mark completely. She should be focusing on her boyfriend and not her ex-boyfriend. It is not her responsibility to make sure he is happy on Christmas. There are so many other options that he could pursue to make sure that he's not alone during this holiday. It's honestly a little ridiculous if you ask me. By even instigating the idea that he's welcome during Christmas to come and visit her family, with you there most of all, is really insulting in my opinion. And if I was in your shoes, I would not be okay with this situation. So if anything, if I was in your shoes, I would have a talk with my girlfriend and say, hey, this makes me uncomfortable, and I really do not want him here during our Christmas holiday. Because honestly, no matter how you spin it, or no matter what you do to try and be accommodating, it is absolutely going to be weird. My girlfriend is demanding that we have kids right now, but I don't want to do this while she's struggling so hard with her depression. And at this point, I don't know what to do. So my girlfriend and I have had a goal to start a family. We have been together for 3 years. We made the decision to move states to be closer to her mom and the rest of her family for support. So we got a bigger place and I quit my job and we moved. I have started a new job opening a hotel, and she started a job at the local hospital and she works as a nurse. We have been in our new place for about 5 months now. So about 4 months ago, my girlfriend got hit hard with depression. She has become paranoid and controlling, constantly being worried about me when I'm not at home. If I don't get back to her right away, or if I'm busy at work, for example, she will panic and say that she was worried something had happened to me. She constantly claims that she is sad and doesn't know why. She has lost a lot of motivation and has as a result put on a lot of weight, which really bothers her. But it doesn't bother me one bit. She refuses to make decisions about anything, always assumes the worst in everything, and thinks that she is a burden to everyone. But despite it all, I keep trying to give her affirmations that this is not true at all. She also knows that she is struggling and constantly says that she needs to see a therapist, but refuses to take the steps necessary to get one. I have picked up all the slack with taking care of the house, as well as when we go get groceries or even the chores. The problem now is that she is caught with baby fever really bad. 2 of her friends have had babies in the past year. She is constantly bringing up that we should be trying to have kids. I say that the timing is wrong because of what she is dealing with currently. I want to be a father a lot, don't get me wrong, but I also want to give my kids the best shot with parents who are able to do their best for their kids. And to be completely honest, the timing is just not right now. And when I've communicated this with her, she has become very upset about my stance. I just want both of us to be healthy and in a functioning state of mind before we bring a baby into the picture. I feel like she thinks having a baby will cure her depression, which I honestly think is just a bad idea. Am I wrong for feeling this way? What should I do? I think you really need to trust your gut on this one, and I completely agree. Having a baby is not going to solve her depression at all. If anything, it might worsen it, because now suddenly there's going to be another child in the house that is completely helpless and entirely dependent on you. That's going to add some extra pressure on the relationship as well as the household in general. I think having a baby just because your friends are having a baby is just terrible. That's a horrible idea. And if anything, it might be time for you to step up and see if you can help her find a therapist. Depression is no joke, and it's super important to get that figured out, because otherwise she's just going to be miserable. So in my opinion, I would definitely wait on trying to have kids, especially if you feel like your partner is struggling right now, because that's not going to solve your problems. And in my opinion, it's just going to make things just a little bit trickier. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And the next time you live stream, use the Cream of the Crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.